Hello.
How you doing, guys? Big Mac Dan School here again today, back with another video for you. Just going to do a Trukkin with the Big Mac, paint along. I've got an Imperial Knight to paint, or some pads from an Imperial Knight. You can see there I've got a metallic shiny colour there. It's not really metallic, it's Tamiya. I think it's a Tamiya colour painted over lead belcher, maybe? I don't know. And then there's a grey there, so the grey I need to dull down a little bit. It's the first time using a second camera in Trukkin with the Big Mac, so it may be a little bouncy and stuff, that second camera, because it's on a, tell you what, could do with getting a table, to be honest. I could just slot over my steering wheel. But I'm mixing up a wash for this, so I'm not going to show you around my cab today. Just shaking up Basilicanum Grey. I imagine that camera's going mad. Yeah, it's Basilicanum Grey. Hopefully that's focusing. I've no idea, to be honest. It's one of those things that when using phones to film footage for YouTube and stuff, unless you're looking at the screen, you can't tell whether they're focusing. Or you could get a monitor hooked up to them. But, and I'll go with 2 parts Basilicanum Grey, I think. 6 parts water to 2 parts, so it's 1 to 3 effectively. I feel like I should have brought a smaller brush, but I've not. So I've got this brush, and then I've got a dry brush to clean it up. It's not actually that dry. I have moistened it a little bit. So what I'm going to do is run it into the recesses. Run it around the recesses rather. And then if it goes too big into the centre of the panel and that, oof. There's a couple of trucks moving at the same time, trying to move into the same space there. I thought we were going to have first ever collision on Trukkin with the Big Mac. But yeah, this is, it's a bit messy this with this brush. I might use the other brush I've brought instead of that one. So I've got a flat brush that I'm going to be taking the potentially taking some of the wash off with. Anybody watching this that doesn't paint miniatures, because I know some people from work watch this, so anybody that watches this that doesn't paint miniatures, or washing the recesses basically makes it look like there's a bit of shadow in the recesses. And also it could be considered weathering in the recesses as well, where the dirt and grime gathers, where it's harder to clean out, that kind of thing. A little bit shaky today. I've just finished my coffee, so there's a chance that the coffee is affecting my painting ability. I've still got loads of paint in it. I've just caught it with my arm. Hey, I've got paint on my arm. It's alright, it's just a wash. Put it in my beard, it's safer there. Right, so that's how that's looking. Yeah, it's a little bit messy. I could go back in with another colour when I get home later. What I'm doing now is just trying to spread that out a bit to this isn't going well. This isn't going well at all. There we go, that's better. I've got a song in my head. That ain't working, that's the way to do it. Money for nothing and your kicks for free. Yeah, normally I'll start one of these videos and I'll have a song in my head that was last on the radio. So occasionally you'll see me singing it. There's a big tide mark there. I think I might need to mix a bit of contrast medium into this solution, because that tide mark's horrendous.
It occurred to me as I was editing this video that there's only so much value that can be gained from watching me fail at painting. So instead, I thought I'd talk a little about failing at painting, and if you want to watch something, I'll do a bit of driving. I understand that everyone consumes YouTube content differently, some watching every frame intently, while others put it on for a bit of background noise when they're cracking on with their own hobby. It's a fine balance between having something interesting to look at and listen to at the same time. I judge my own painting to be of the standard that isn't that interesting or engaging to watch, although my methods may be slightly different from other people's, so some people could learn a new trick or two if they watch from start to finish. That being said, the vast majority of people watching this are unlikely to gain much from watching me paint a miniature. You'll notice that it's an Imperial Knight I'm painting, and that's for good reason. I picked it up after a couple of years of it being sat on my shelf because I painted a fair bit of small stuff already this year and fancied a change. There's a couple of people in the Let's Make It Orky Discord server, Leech, Merlin and Gratag, who've all been working on nights of their own recently, and it spurred me on to get back to my own, with a view to attending a meetup at Warhammer World in August, where there are plans to see how many nights we can get on a table. Anyway, back to failing at painting. You may be aware that I'm attempting to paint 365 miniatures this year. You may also be aware that I haven't posted any progress photos or completed miniatures on my Instagram recently. That's because my 365 challenge came to a grinding halt in the month before Golden Demon. As someone who's more than likely living with ADHD, I tend to procrastinate when I have a distant deadline, or just put things off altogether. This is exactly what happened prior to Warhammer Fest and Golden Demon. I'd worked hard in the first 3 months of the year to make sure I didn't fall behind on my Hobby 365 challenge, in order to set aside the entirety of the month of April to work on my planned Golden Demon entry. 1 week into April, and I hadn't opened a single pot of paint. I'd reached a point in my project that I didn't know how to proceed beyond. It wasn't until the 3rd week of April, and the 3rd consecutive week of no progress however, that I realised this, leaving me with just 1 week before Golden Demon. Looking back on my school days, this was almost always the way I approached deadlines, leaving both coursework and exam revision until the last minute, usually the night before, staying up late to get the work done. So around 3 days before the event, I decided to take advantage of my procrastination and start an entirely new project to enter. It worked out okay in the end though, and I took home a Golden Demon finalist pin for the open category. Back to the issue at hand, the Hobby 365. Golden Demon had essentially put me 30 minis behind, and since then I painted 0 minis, leaving me roughly 60 minis behind. After hearing a number of friends were potentially attending a fun event with their own nights, I started thinking about what other large units I had, and the excitement and enthusiasm began to build. Once the night from this video is finished, I've got plans to start on some large orc models. I want to capitalise on that enthusiasm, and I've already started on a video that will feature my gargantuan squig-off. I've also negotiated with a friend for a model that I'll need for an organic stomper. The plan being to take these units along to the event and see what havoc the orcs can cause on a battlefield dominated by Imperial and Chaos Knights. Will I eventually get back to the 365 and attempt to catch up? At this point it seems unlikely, but not impossible. If in the second half of the year I painted 2 miniatures per day, I could catch up and achieve the goal I set myself at the start of the year. However, I'm not planning on committing to that at this stage. Until next time, I'll see you on the battlefield.